This is the story of how I tripled my audience growth in just a month. I went from 5,000 followers from about 9 years of creating content, which was a lot of work, but we'll get there, to almost 16,000 in less than 4 weeks. And this is going to be unlike any podcast episode, or if you're watching on YouTube, unlike any YouTube video you have seen explaining growth. Okay, are you ready for it? We're also going to be doing like a book haul. I have a bunch of books here if you're a bookworm like me, but I'm going to be sharing some of my biggest recommendations when it comes to resources that are really going to help you implement what I'm going to be sharing to you in today's podcast. So I'm so excited that you're here. So let's get it started with a story. I have been creating content on social media, or using the platform Instagram for this example, for 9 years. I've been through many stages as a content creator. I didn't even know it was called content creation in the beginning. I started Instagram, I guess I started Instagram 9 years ago, and I started creating for content maybe 8 years. So I started using it when I was traveling after university. Actually, during university, I started traveling. I went on backpacking trips, and I'm Jewish, and at the time I was quite observant. My family's very religious. At the time when I started traveling, I was very observant, and I was documenting my journey as a religious Jewish girl traveling, which was very, very uncommon, very unheard of. I didn't hear of any girls doing it, especially solo. So I guess it was a way, kind of like a journal, kind of like a way to check back in with my friends and family, and also it built into a way of like, wow, that's possible. I just thought like I want to do whatever I want to do, and I realized the platform was an opportunity for people to see what was possible for them. And that really opened up my eyes. Then my platform, you're going to realize with my podcast episodes that I like to say stories. So join me in this journey. So it started out as sharing a bit of my travels. Then I solo backpacked Africa right after I finished my university degree. I studied fashion and business. Side note, I'm all over the place. If you're someone that's just like, I'm multi-talented, I'm multi-passionate, I don't know my niche, hello, welcome. My name is Shana Raskin, and I've done and had many, many, many titles. So don't limit yourself to needing to be in the box, because we're going on a journey today, okay? So I studied business and fashion, go to Africa, I fall in love with dancing and with content creation. What actually happened was story time. Story time. And this actually reminds me of another story that my dad really likes to say stories on Shabbat. Always loves to say stories. Anyways, back to Africa. Wow, this is going to be a really fun episode. Back to Africa. I'm realizing that I'm running out of money. I think we're already like 6 months into this solo trip. That's a whole story for another episode. 6 months into this trip, and I'm in this place called Malawi, and it's my favorite country in Africa, and I'm sitting in the hostel, and I realized that they don't really have a social media presence. They don't have content. I could help them with their content in exchange for accommodation. So I didn't know that that was a thing. It wasn't a thing that I knew of. This is like 8 years ago. So I go to the owners and I say, hey, I studied business and fashion. I majored in marketing. I know how to use a camera. I have a professional camera. I can do like a promotional video for your accommodation in exchange for 2 to 3 weeks of accommodation. They're like, sure. I'm like, cool. What is this world that I live in? I just get to stay for free, and all I need to do is take a bunch of pictures and videos. My life was like instantly changed from that moment. And then that was like where the content creator within me was born. When I realized like people actually value this, the thing that I just do for fun that I really enjoy. So anyways, I realized that I could use this skill, and I started to do it at a few different places. Where were we going with this story? Okay, we're talking about the journey of being a content creator for 9 years, and my growth was very slow. I felt like very proud and And it was at that time, it grew into being a portfolio to get these jobs. I would say, like, this is what I did for clients, and it was used as a portfolio to show my skill set. And then I would get more gigs, and that worked for a couple of years. And then when I started my business 2 years ago, 2021, I started my business. I started as a coach and creating courses. And my followers at that time, my audience was about 5,000. And I managed to get clients and grow and everything, but it wasn't growing past 5,000 for 2.5 years. So it took like maybe like 6 years, 5-6 years to build to 5,000. And that was like posting often, creating really incredible content, like with drones and professional and editing, and like really, like not just posting like this is what I had for lunch. Like every single post of mine was really professional because it was my portfolio. And then when I started my business, like I had already built a community of 5,000, which are not necessarily the clients that I wanted. Like I still had to work a lot in reaching the clients that I wanted to work with, because beforehand I was working with like tourism and like dance content, and then I was working with marketing and more personal brand content. So anyways, been a journey. And then the past 2 years I've been posting every single day, 2.5 years. I post every single day. I promote myself. I create really credible, high value content. If you're someone that's watching this and they say, oh yeah, I want to do this and this and I want to share my world, but I haven't grown and all these people are growing overnight. Hello, I did not grow overnight, and I'm still not growing overnight. This is a proof of there is a journey, there is a story. It takes the reps to put in. Not everyone has the overnight viral content creator journey. Those are the ones that are highlighted. So it's very common to compare yourself to those people. So this episode is to remind you that don't compare yourself to those people. Number 2 is use them as inspiration, not as comparison. And number 3, money. Followers doesn't equal sales. Like I made lots and lots of income with 5,000 followers. My clients made 10K months with 3,000 followers. So followers don't equal sales. They obviously help to reach a more bigger audience. And obviously if you're in the world of wanting to share your message, and maybe you're a coach, a healer, a mentor, a service provider, you want to be seen by more, because there's a capacity for your message to reach so many people. But the point of this episode is not that metrics will get you more clients, but liberating your voice will. And the byproduct of liberating your voice is growing your account and reaching the people that actually want to reach you. So I've seen a lot of people like go viral for like something that's not related to what they sell. So it's just like a viral video sitting there, and they have all these like random accounts, and then they struggle to continue that momentum because the algorithm starts feeding them to people that are not really relevant or not really specific to what they're sharing. So a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I created a reel, and I'm going to be sharing with you the exact embodiment practice that I did to create this reel. But this reel is almost going to hit 1 million views. And for me, from an account that was sitting at 5,000 for a very long time, it felt like, it feels really, really liberating. It feels like finally my throat has been opened, my message has been shared, and since then, the quality of my posts, the messaging is really crisp and clear. It's really reaching the right people. It's calling in the most incredible clients. I've had more than I've ever had of clients wanting to work with me, reach out. Like my one-on-one is almost booked out, and for 2.5 years of working every single day on my business and growing, and to reach a point of like, wow, it's working, I was like, okay, I need to create an episode. I need to create a way for you, if you're sick of the types of things that says, this is they show like the the quality of the content, or you need a hook, or you need a this, or you need a that. No, we're going deeper today because you've tried all those things, and great, yes, there's skills to learn to grow your account, like how to post, how to write, like how-tos, but how-tos you can Google. I'll let that sink in for a second. How-tos you can Google. Like there's ChatGPT writing posts now. You understand what I'm saying? We don't need that. That's there. We need this. We need the full body human experience behind content that's going to allow it to reach these people. The video that got almost has 1 million views on it. It's my words. It's my voice. It's not a trend. It's not a short video that gets people attention span. It has over 100,000 likes. It has so many saves, so many comments, so many people that have joined my programs from this one and a half minute post. And I'm going to let that sink in. One message. I saw this really powerful quote from someone. She said, there's always someone growing. There's always someone going viral. There's always someone expanding and exploding. Every single month, every single day. There's no reason why it can't be you. Okay? So this episode is not the how-tos, because you can Google and chat GPT that. This is the how to be. How to be the version of yourself that is so expressed and liberated that as a byproduct, you can triple, quadruple, 10x your audience. Okay, are you ready for this podcast? I'm so excited. Okay, that was a long introduction, but we had to get some things clear, right? So I'm going to give you 3 points of how I tripled my audience in 1 month using embodiment. Are you ready? Number 1, and remember that I said we're going to use books as a way to, if you want to like expand on this, these 2 books are for step number 1. If you're listening to the episode Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, she's the author of Eat, Pray, Love. Amazing book, but she explains her creative process. And it's really magical. And The Artist's Way is by Julia Cameron. And it's like a workbook style. So it's got like exercises and it's like kind of like a 12-week program. Yeah, 12 weeks, I think. Couple weeks, I don't know. And it's really, really powerful. So those are the 2 recommendations that I give you for step number 1. Step number 1 is create content. Create your voice, your expression as an art, as an expression, not as a result. And I know this is really hard because if you're in the business of, I want to share my message, I want to get more clients, I want to make more impact, you do care about numbers. You do want more sales or more clients or more views or more followers. But let the creative process be a creative process. Let the creativity do the expression so that as a byproduct, you can have those desires. When you create for the result, it squishes the intuition. It squishes your creativity. In the Artist's Way, or one of those books, she talks about that we have a creativity goddess inside, and she gets strangled or she gets really claustrophobic when we attach metrics to her, when we attach numbers to her. And I come from a dance background, and one of the most pet peeves that I had was when people would say to me, "Dance for me." You know the song Dance Monkey? Dance for me, oh. Like, literally, I felt like a dance monkey. Like, oh, just dance for me. It's like asking someone like, oh, you're a musician, perform for me, play for me. Like, it's very, I found it quite abrupt. Like, I immediately felt blocked. Like, I'm not in flow state if I need to perform for you. I wasn't a performer. So there's a separation of like, yes, I did dance to perform. I did dance for audiences, but it was always about me. I was in my element. I chose to be in that job. I chose to be in that space. I was performing because that was what got me into flow. So I'm not saying don't create art for an audience. Don't let your creative flow be for applause, for a standing ovation, for a result. Let it be for you, and let the standing ovation be a byproduct of you being so in flow. I went to Carnival. It's like a Brazilian festival, but in Cozumel, in the island that I live in. I went there last year with my then boyfriend, now husband. How exciting. I never knew I would be so excited about marriage. Side note, I never wanted to get married. That's a whole nother story. Okay, we're going on so many tangents today, but I hope you're having a lot of fun. So we're at this performance, and there's like, if you've ever been to Samba, or if you've ever, Samba is a style of dance, but if you've ever been to Carnival, they wear these like huge hats and colorful things, and like it's heavy. In one of my dance contracts, one of the nights was, one of my dancers was wearing one of these crowns, and like I could really empathize with the dancers because like I've been there with all the colorful strings and the big hats. Maybe I'll drop a photo here. Like it's heavy stuff. But anyways, me and my boyfriend, my then boyfriend, now husband, were watching one of these performances, and there was this one guy that was electric. He was electric. His energy, I think I still have the video, his energy was magnetic. His energy was so drawing you in. He was there for him. You could feel it. You could witness it. He elevated the space. He wasn't a better dancer than the other ones. Sorry. He wasn't more skilled or more talented. He didn't have the steps more better. He didn't have more training or better shoes or better. He wasn't better at it. He was better at him. I'm going to let that drop. When we create on whichever platform we're creating, we're trying to be so perfect. Like, did I say the right thing? Did I look right? Did I do right? People are magnetized to the people that are so in love with themselves, and not in an egotistic way, in a way of like, I love this. I get to do this. Oh my God, today's the best day of my life. And this doesn't mean you have to be in this state of being all the time, because that's also not human. Like, we don't have to be in love with life all the time, but you're magnetized to the person that's obsessed with what they are doing. It's a natural byproduct. Like, when we're watching, there's like maybe 20, 30, 40 dancers. My eyes did not leave him. He was magnetizing the whole audience. There was probably 5,000 people in the audience, and all eyes were on him. Is this dropping for a moment? Have you ever been to a play or a performance where like someone just like their energy is something different? I was the head of dance production in my high school, and I led one of the dances. It was probably like one of the proudest moments of my life, but I don't remember much from that time period. But I remember coming off stage, and there's this foyer, and you know when like people give the flowers and everything, and someone, I don't know who she is, I don't even know what she looks like, I just know someone came up to me and said, Shayna, I don't even know her words, but she just said, you were amazing. It felt like there was this energy coming out of you. It felt like there were springs coming out of your feet. You were just so electric. I wasn't doing that performance for the audience. I was doing that performance because I was so alive with the dance that I had choreographed, and I was so proud to have this night. I was so excited to be in movement and to dance. And when she said that to me, it changed my life, because I'm not a skilled dancer. I didn't grow up with going to ballet or hip hop or jazz, or my skill level is here. Compared to all the other dancers that might have been in my group, my skill level was a lot lower. But my being is what attracted people. My being is what people wanted to see. My being is what all the people after the performance came up to me and said, wow, Shayna, there's something special about you. You move in such a powerful way. I'm like, I'm not a good dancer. I'm good at being. That's it. Oh my God, we're story on story on story on story today. Talking about dance, people always say to me, teach me how to dance. How do you dance? You're so good at dancing. And I would always say, just don't give a shit. Like, if you're not dancing for other people, you'll be a better dancer. If you can liberate a level of self-love and confidence and enjoyment, so you're not moving for the people around you, you can really move for you. That's where the dance comes out, not from the skill and following steps and choreography. Let that sink in. Wow. So anyways, back to the story. When people would say dance for me, it would frustrate me because it blocked me. It immediately blocked me. When someone said dance for me, I was like, what? Like, there's a separation. When there is a need to please or a need to perform, or if your eyes are all around you, you can't concentrate on you. Art is the most spiritual thing you can do. Creativity, like God is creation. And we're a piece of God. So we are creativity. So creativity, creating content, art, whatever, is a way of being closer to God. It's the way of being spiritual. It's the way, it's such a powerful, and yeah, that's a big theme inside this book, The Artist's Way. But anyways, if you feel like there's this self-expression that's really ready to be liberated inside of you, create for the sake of creation. Let the result be a byproduct. And obviously there's skill and tactic and messaging when it comes to creating for this, like for the real results of, I want clients, I want an audience, I want income. Yes, but let the creativity be creative first, and then that falls into place. I would love to share you my flow of how I create content that just gets hundreds of saves and likes and so many clients from just my content. That takes me like an hour a day. I go through this incredible process. I'm teaching that live in my Embodied Wealth program. If you're watching before the end of May, join us live, and if you're watching afterwards, you can watch the replays. They'll be inside the Facebook group, but make sure you are signed up and joined the Facebook group, because I'm going to take you through the exact process. But this is kind of like a teaser. Get ready. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is story, and the book, I don't have the physical copy. I read it on my Kindle, but it's called Resonate. Can't remember who it's from. It's from a young author. She's incredible. So it's about how your story reaches emotions. We're speaking with real people. So what seems to be forgotten when creating content is like, we just want to go viral. We just want to reach numbers. Every single number is an entire person. Your story connects to a person. People have emotions. Storytelling is the oldest form of connection. It's the most ancient form of connection. This is how people would sit around and connect. This is how they pass down lineage and pass down traditions through stories. Like I said before, my dad, every Friday night and every Shabbat day, says stories. My grandmother has her story written in a book. She was a child during the siege of Leningrad in Russia, where the whole city was put under siege, and a lot of people died from starvation. Most of her family died from starvation, and she shares her story. Stories connect to emotions. Stories connect to people. Stories will make a piece of content alive versus boring. For example, I could share with you, let's give an example from today, okay? Today I shared a reel about sadness, about how there's no such thing as struggle, because when you stop struggling. Struggling means resistance. When you stop struggling, you are, you can accept it, right? How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how inclined are you to watch that or to interact with that piece of content? Boring. I mean, you can find information all day tomorrow. Like, everyone can teach on something, or like, oh, interesting, nice quote, nice this. Like, what makes someone want to watch my piece of content? I started out that reel by sharing about my sadness, sharing about how I've transformed sadness into something that kept me down, into something that liberates me. I shared a story of how I sat with my mentor yesterday, and I had nothing to share with her because I was not struggling with anything. And that made me feel confused for a moment, because our society is so addicted to struggle. I was like, wait, I'm not struggling with anything. I have real life experiences that I'm processing, but nothing is struggling. I'm not resisting life right now. And that was such a full body moment for me of like, wow, I don't need to struggle. Healing is not about struggling. Healing is not about selling people's pain points. It's not about, oh, if you're struggling with this, then buy this. That's like very, very basic marketing and sales. Is like, speak to people's pain points. Our society, we're addicted to struggle. We want to fix and change, and it doesn't have to. So that was the post that I shared. But you see the difference between those two posts, between those two interactions. One of them, I was bored with myself. I couldn't even continue my train of thought. The second one, I'm just like, I want to talk about this all day. This is like amazing, because I shared my personal experience with it. So step number 2, if you want to expand your audience and liberate your voice, share your story. And there's so many ways to share your story. You can share a big story, like how I went from this to this. A note on this, because what I was doing differently now is I used to share I struggled and then this is where I am now. Now I share less about this is where I struggled and this is where I am now, of like, this is the transformation I went through. This is how I up-leveled. I focus on the growth rather than focus on the pain. I used to focus a lot more on the pain, because pain is addictive. And even like today's post, for example, like I could have started the post with, our society is addicted to struggle, right? The tone is different. It's I'm not going to say negative, but it's heavy, right? Maybe some of your content, especially if you're in the healing or self-growth world, maybe you find some of your content's a little bit on the heavier side. Your story you get to use to empower. Empower means not to ignore the harder stuff, but to focus the perspective. So instead of saying our society is addicted to struggle, I said there's no such thing as struggle. You see the difference? Our society is addicted to struggle. That's like an easy hook, right? That's an easy way to get people in. Oh yeah, I relate to that. We want to stop relating to people's problems. We want to relate to people's aspirations and dreams and liberations. That's what empowerment is. At least that's what I love to do. If you want to like work with people in struggle land, which is what I was doing for a long time, it's a representation of you. And if you want to expand beyond struggle land, we don't focus on struggle land. Even though that post that I just shared was about struggle, but it was about that struggle is made up and there's no such thing. Like, we create it. We don't have to. I'm loving this conversation. I'm loving this podcast episode. Wow. Okay. So I shared the books. I shared this point about sharing your story. Okay. The last one is the most powerful, and this is the embodiment. I'm going to share some books about embodiment before I share this. Here is The Secret Language of Your Body by Ina Segal. It's kind of like a reference book that you could look up like symptoms and look at like different emotional meanings, and it's good. And this one's also similar, Your Body Speaks Your Mind by Deb Shapiro, and it's also similar to another one that I've read, You Can Heal Your Life and You Can Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. They're all very similar in the sense of like sharing about how your body is sharing with you information. The backs all have indexes about like what different symptoms and things are, and yeah, it's great information. But embodiment is beyond information. Okay, so I'm giving you these resources because it's a great place, it's a great thing to have as a resource, but the whole point of this is not about the knowledge, it's about what you do with that knowledge, what you do with that, how you actually integrate that and listen to that. So just wanted to make sure that was a heads up. And the other book, really, really powerful, Maps to Ecstasy by Gabrielle Roth. All these three can really help in the embodiment department. So let's share a little bit about embodiment. This is something that I thought I had for a long time because I was sharing like the material or the physical transformation. Like I live in the Caribbean, so I would share pictures and videos of me here, and I would spend a lot of time like creating beautiful content. But embodiment isn't like the physical, even though it's very physical because it's in your body. But embodiment is a felt sense. People feel it. And when I share about embodiment and how this transformed my content and grew my audience and made my business thrive and flourish, is being the embodiment of your transformation. Beyond just, oh, I live here, or I'm healthy, or I achieved this. How are you actually being that version of yourself in front of the camera and behind the camera? And a lot of this stuff you already know, right? I already knew this stuff, but I wasn't integrating this knowledge for the longest time. And as I said, I have a long journey with creating content, and it didn't click for me until the beginning of this year. Kind of, it started when I started sharing it and figuring out my way to share content. It was like I was still dabbling in trends. Like I was basically like, it felt like just trying, experimenting. And I guess that's the way, like that's really what embodiment was. I was really embodying a leader, because a leader takes action with fear. So I'm not saying what I did was wrong. I'm just saying what it took me to get to the point of clicking. And this point is the embodiment of the transformation. So not just embodiment of the result. This is not just like, oh, I'm a healthy mom and I'm a love coach and I'm a self-help guru and I'm a this. How are you being that? Let your content show how you are being that. I know this, like, it's a lot easier to get very simple, specific steps. But this goes a little bit deeper, and this is why I left this one for the last one. Because being the embodiment of your transformation invites you to go deeper, invites you to really be what you are sharing. How do you be that? How do you be more of that? How do you turn up the dial? Not turn up the dial of what's trending or what everyone else is doing. Turn up the dial of you. And I used to hate when I heard that, because I was like, what am I? Who am I? Where do I start? Where do I begin? Well, if that's like you and you're just like, okay, well, all this is great information, but what do I do with it? If you're more practical, you want the practices. I've been doing this daily embodiment practice for the past couple of months. And since January, it's really clicked in terms of my content. My content comes from my body. Let me just say that. My content comes from my body. Every single day, I have an embodiment practice that allows my emotions and my physical sensations or symptoms tell me what they're communicating to me. I know it sounds crazy. And it probably is crazy because, yeah. But my content is made from my body. Every single day. I'll give you, like, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll just show you a little bit of how it looks like my process. Like every single day after my embodiment practice, like I'll have the same conversation with my body. First I have it with my physical body, the same conversation every day, this process. This process is going to change your life. I'm going to be teaching it inside Embodied Wealth on day 1. So Embodied Wealth is a 3-day free embodiment experience to become the most powerful, liberated, wealthy version of yourself, expressed. So the first day is about content, self-expression, taking up that space, liberating your throat chakra. So I'm going to be sharing with you that practice. But if you're not yet part of the 3-day course, or if you just want to get started with the practices now, I have the Body Talk membership, which I share weekly practices of how to get in tune with what your body is saying, liberate the most wild, expressed, unapologetic version of yourself for just $22 a month. So that is an incredible place to start. I have free embodiment experiences every single month inside my free Facebook group called the Liberated Lounge, and this podcast with a lot of resources. So there's lots of direction to go from here, but I just want to specify and end with, you are the embodiment of your transformation. When you are the embodiment of your transformation, that is where things get to start clicking into place. So I want to give some examples, right? Because let's be practical for a moment before we wrap up. If you want to be, let's say you're a health coach. So what does it mean to be the embodiment of your transformation? What do people get, or what's the transformation that people get when they come through working with you? They may feel more energized, they feel more this, they feel more that. How can you embody that transformation in a message? We get, like in the workshop that we're doing, we're going to get very detailed, because there is a process that I work through. This is more of a general outline. But instead of saying, eat these 3 fruits to help you feel energized in the morning, your content shows the embodiment of an energized person, the energized version of you. How can your content show that? So what I'm saying is, this isn't telling you the structure of how to create a piece of content. It can be written, it can be a reel, it can be a voiceover, it can be a live, it can be a blog post. Like, I'm not telling you a structure. I'm inviting you to be the embodiment. And when you are that embodied version of the message that you're sharing, how does that art come through? And then we come back to level 1, create art. And step number 2, share your story. Step number 3, be the embodiment of that message that you're sharing. And every single post that you create will be literally a masterpiece. A masterpiece that people can actually see and create and share to their audiences and share to their stories. The amount of shares every single morning when I check my social media, I like the share button at the top. My posts are shared all the time, every day. Different posts of mine are shared. That's what being the embodiment of your transformation does. It resonates with people, that people say, oh, this isn't just good for me. I'm not just going to like this and move on. I want to share this because I resonate this. This speaks to me. This is something. When people share something, it means it speaks to them. And when something speaks to you, you want to be a part of that world. So this is not just, oh, I got a bunch of thousands of followers. No, I've got a community of people, of liberated women that want to join my world, that want to join my programs, that by the moment that they are in my world, like, they don't need to have years and years of like watching my content and consuming all. They in my world in one day, in my membership in the next day, in my retreat in the next day, in my group programs the next day, in my one-on-one the next day. Do you see that? We're not just talking about growing your social media, growing your audience just for numbers. We're growing as a ripple effect. And that ripple effect begins with you liberating your message, liberating your voice, being able to share this powerful message that is so ready to come out of you. I know it. And I'm excited for this podcast, this episode, to really reach you in that level that you're at. So I'm going to love you and leave you with this. And this was so much fun to create. I hope you enjoyed all the stories and the real life embodiment of exactly what I'm sharing with you. And if you haven't yet signed up to the Embodied Wealth workshop that is happening, and you can join our Facebook group for the replays if you're watching in the future. Hello, future. And you can join our Body Talk membership, which is currently $22 per month, but the price goes up as the community builds. So those are the two invitations that I'm going to leave you with in this episode. Sending so much love from me to you. Bye bye.